Abandoned buildings, I believe they have a beauty all of their own. Hi everyone, here we are for another video, and in this video I want to take up that point. Do abandoned locations have their own beauty? Are they majestic monuments to a time that has passed, or just a heap of old rubble and a decaying dump? People hold their own view on this, and I'd love to hear yours. But in order to try and win the day when I come to arguing the point for a sense of history and beauty, I want to share with you 3 locations that we have visited that I think really do have that little bit extra. And the first visit is way up in Scotland, and we're going back 4 years to February 2019, when Caroline and I paid a visit to Crawford Priory.
Let's have a peek through this window. We're going to have a peek through the window. Come on, let's have a look. Ooh, look at that. It's full of stones and rubble. There's a fireplace there. And you can see something burnt there. Apparently there was a great fire. And that probably was partly damaged then. So all the plumbing and everything. Lots of brickwork. Now look at that for ivy roots. They're quite furry actually. Looks like an animal, doesn't it? Protecting the tower or the chimney or whatever it is. We'll call it the tower because it sounds much more romantic. Oh, there we go. Actually, I think it was like a tower because there are 2 more there. And that one looks about the same height. Oh, look at this doorway. Climb over this little bit of undergrowth. Well, lot of undergrowth. The step up. And then you were greeted by the door. Look at that. And up to the towers either side of the door. That's pretty spectacular. Let's have a look up here. Oh, look. It's unusual, isn't it? All those patterns. You can see they put some meshing along to keep the birds out from nesting. This is a very soft stone. You can see here it's already starting to crumble badly. There's a fireplace up in the air. Oh, look at those for chimneys. 3 chimney pots. Very impressive. Right, that floor really does not look very stable. I'm not going up there. This doesn't look very stable either. Look at that. Well, look at this old door. Look at that. There's the hinge. See, all the mouldings have come off. But what a door. Look at the width on that. And another door. Look at this. It's such a shame. It's a gorgeous door. Can you imagine what that would get in a posh shop in London, even with all the mould and green and grot on it?
But we are in Crawford Priory. It was Lady Mary Lindsay Crawford that built this at the beginning of the 19th century. Before that, in mid-1700s, the Earl of Crawford had a hunting lodge here, which was of no significance. But this is of immense significance. What a building. What a lady. It's called the Priory, but it's not a religious building, but she was a very devout and religious lady. And she was quite an eccentric and reclusive lady. She never married, yet she managed an entire estate that had lime kilns, coal mines and other businesses, as well as all the farmlands. She managed all that, and she employed architects and builders to create this entire building in the Gothic style. And it's very much a sense of a religious building with all of its shapes and windows, but it was her private home. She died in 1833. The family was at an end. She had no children. She was last of the line. I believe it went to the Earls of Glasgow then, and eventually it ceased being a private home, 1950s, 1960s, There was a fire, I understand, in the west wing. There was also, in the 70s, although the building stood empty, they took the lead off the roof and sold it. And I think that was probably done by a criminal element. And the result was the rain came in, and the building is now being reclaimed by nature. Of course, as with so many old buildings, this one as well has its ghost stories. And I get a feeling that's what this is all about. I think someone has decided to do a bit of a setup. I can imagine with the right lighting at night, taking that footage, that is going to freak people out.
There we go, folks. We've got upstairs. Oh, how scary. My knees are giving what a week. That was not funny coming up there. I can't get down yet. I just want to show you the remains of the lead. You can see where the lead is all gone. It's top of the roof. When I look up now and realise that that ledge has not been held up by much, is it? And there's no wall here hardly. So it's all gone.
What an amazing ruin. Absolutely mind-blowing to see just the shapes on those windows, to see just the remains of bits and pieces of the architecture and the decor, and that magnificent stairs. For me, that stairs, as scary as it was for someone who doesn't like heights, it was absolutely worthwhile, because it was such an incredible sensation to stand there and just view that ruin from that angle. And just to imagine the folks strolling up and down that stairs, perhaps in their evening wear, prepared for dinner or a party taking place. Who knows what may have gone on there in times gone by. But now we're going to move from the residential and home life to the industrial, because can an industrial building also capture that sense of being a monument to a moment that's gone by? And here we're moving closer to home, still a fair way north of where we live, because we're heading to one of our favourite stomping grounds, Tom's homeland there in Yorkshire. And we're going to share with you a visit we made in August 2019, and we dropped in on an old mill, one of the first steam-powered spinning mills in the country.
Whoa, that probably doesn't look as big on camera as it does actually stood by the side of it. Let's have a look. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 floors.
See the crane, the tube, for lifting
Oh,
to the top
right
floor.
up the top. I don't even know if you can see that, but that's to pick up things to go right up to the 7th floor, which is quite sensible because you wouldn't really want to carry things up 7 floors.
It was built in 1825 by James Ackroyd, and in 1905, well after his time, it did catch fire and did £8,000 worth of damage, which may not sound a lot now, but I got a sneaking suspicion in 1905 that was a lot.
Probably.
That was a lot. But he was a real entrepreneur and a forward-thinking man. A bit like the technology of our day is computers, the technology of his day was steam. They were going from water wheels to steam, and over there is what I believe is the engine house. You can see the chimney at the back.
Yes, that had a big, huge steam engine in there. Should we go and have a look? We're not allowed to go in, unfortunately. And I'm not one for breaking rules, so we're not going to go in. But we can still have a look from where the entrances are and see what we can see. As you can see, it's very rubbly and there's lots of rubbish and litter and broken things around, which is a bit of a shame. And somebody has actually broken in here. You can see for safety, they bricked up the doorway and then somebody decided, now we'll take that down. Should we go and see what we can see? Again, we're not going in, but we'll have a look through the opening. Can you see the metal support? And there is the arched roof sections there. Right, we'll walk along here to the engine house. This had a big, huge steam engine in it. That's a very tall chimney. Again, I don't know if you're getting the effect. But in those days, even if something was functional, they still built it to be beautiful. Look at the arches on there. That's really pretty. They definitely didn't just throw this up plain. Even down to the stairwell here is actually octagonal almost, rather than just put a block. Apologies if there is anything rude in all the graffiti. I've tried looking, I can't see it all, but I think we're pretty safe.
Well, okay, it's not historical, but it's art.
Yes, it is art. Now that's a nail.
Look at that.
Oh, can you see the size of that nail?
Yeah, there's my hand. I got big hands. I got big dirty hands.
You've got big dirty hands, yes.
But look at that.
Wow. Right, we're not allowed to go in the building, as you know, but there's a hole. And my camera isn't actually human, so I'm going to pop the camera. Now, be brave, everybody. You're going to have to go in without me. And I'm going to see what's up there. You tell me what you see. Over you go. Hang on tight.
Wow. Well, I don't know if I'm winning the argument here, but for me, the memories that came back looking at that, it really did take me to standing there and realizing the sheer size of these places, how they tower above you, and to begin to imagine the people that work there, the noise, the overwhelming noise that would have come out of this place, the smoke and the steam belching from the chimneys, and all of the machinery on every floor all running at once. And now it stands there, silent. Now we're going to move on to our third and final visit, and this is somewhere I think will win the day for me. This is something pretty special. We've done residential there at Crawford Priory. We've done industrial at the first steam spinning mill there in Yorkshire. Now we're coming closer to home. We're on the borderlands. The Severn River has formed a border for Wales and England for a large part of its run. And here we are, visiting in September of 2019. A boat graveyard. Yes, now we're talking maritime. But we're talking the use of abandoned items to serve a greater good, because there was a real danger of the loss of a canal when someone thought to create this amazing place, this boat graveyard. And for me, I still recall how touched Caroline and I were by that sense of awe as we wandered amongst these abandoned boats.
This is the Gloucester Sharpness Canal at Purton. It just looks like your average canal, but it's actually got a really interesting secret, and we are going in search of it. What on earth is a big lump of concrete in the shape of a boat doing here?
There's one there, and there's another there.
What's this all about? Tell us, Phil.
In 1909, the banking here almost disappeared. The tide rose and it took a huge section away. And if you just look there, how close the canal is and how close the river is, the two actually came so close they thought the canal was going to be lost. And all the water was going to rush out and it was going to be destroyed. They needed a quick and good solution, so they brought that night, they sent for 3 boats and they scuppered them here, they beached them, allowed them to fill with silt, and they continued doing that and eventually had over 80 boats along this graveyard.
Now, I was baffled when I heard concrete boats. I thought, well, that's silly, you can't make a boat out of concrete. But apparently it's from in the First World War, when there was a shortage of wood, and so the only option was to come up with another material, and they came up with concrete. So there you go, concrete boats. Who'd have thought it? Look at this. We're now stepping onto a concrete boat. I never thought that would be something I would ever be saying. There's a hole here, but I don't think it goes down very far. Hold tight, I'll pop you in and see what you can see. This is amazing. Let's go and have a look. Some grass is growing on the top of the boat and there's a path worn, so we'll go and have a look. A well-worn path, so obviously lots of people come here, and what do you know? People have left their rubbish behind. This is quite a wonderful thing to do. It's not the sort of thing that you would normally do with your day, and not the sort of thing you would even think to do, is to walk on a concrete boat, but I am. Look at this. This is the part they use to steer the rudder. Not sure what that name is. And if we look over there, there's the metal rudder. It's a whopper.
The first day they brought 3. Over the next 50 odd years they brought over 80 ships here, or boats, whatever you want to call them. They had schooners, barges, and something called a trow, which I'd never heard of before, but when I looked it up, that was a popular boat on these rivers because the mast would hinge down to go underneath the bridges as they travelled along. Incredible, simple, effective. There are only about 30 visible now because the other 50 are doing their job. They have sunk into the ground, they are filled with silt, they've become the banking that is all around us.
As we walk along, we keep seeing these plaques. It seems like an odd plaque in the middle of the grass, but ultimately it's there to tell us that underneath this part of the land is the Mary Ann. And there's another one there, and everywhere you look there are little plaques saying that another barge has been sunk and has turned back into just being this little part of land. This barge, which I can see is the FCB 75 according to the plaque, seems to have actually been rammed into the side and driven up over the edge. Can you see the angle it's at? There are still quite a few bits and pieces on this one, but we can't go and explore this one because they have erected a fence to keep us off.
And when they brought it in, this would have been the banking.
I suppose
see how
so,
the ground
yes.
now is built up by
silt gathering
against it. It is such a simple yet powerfully effective plan. We are walking on ground that was never here. The canal is being used by so many people, and it's all possible because someone said, I've got an idea.
Oh.
What if we try this?
What a clever idea. That little piece of metal there is all that's left of the Catherine Ellen and Higer or Higre. It does have that little wooden post there and nothing else to see. On the other hand, look at the size on that. Let's go and have a look around that one. There's this piece of metal in the ground here. Doesn't look like much, a little bit of wood on it, but if you can imagine, there should be boat all along here leading up to the other part of the boat over there. It's a huge boat that has rotted away in the middle, but lots of timber and old nails are still intact. There's a rudder. It's bigger than me. Here you can see the very thick wooden downposts, whatever you like to call them, of the hull of the boat with the planks going across. If we look here, some of the original dowel is still in place here. They've used them quite often, but also more modern boats. Perhaps they're more modern, perhaps they're not. But they make a nice contrast. You can see a nut there on a boat and something pointy. I don't think that's the technical term. As we walk along, you can see just the extent of the rot here. This boat is not going to be here for many more decades. So it's lovely to know that when people photograph and video these items, that it just keeps them there for eternity, for everyone to see, even though they are long gone in actual reality. Here you can see the dowels are gone, the wood is rotting away. There's the other half of the boat with lots of pieces already missing, and you have to be so careful because as we walk along here you can see there is a spike sticking up from the boat somewhere. So there's probably a lot of interesting bits and pieces underneath our feet.
Well, what do you think? What's your opinion on that particular piece of film, that location? How do you feel about those derelict and abandoned places? Do they speak to you the way they speak to me? Perhaps not. Just let us know. Let's have a conversation. And if you've enjoyed this kind of video, this compilation, just on the occasions when perhaps through the winter it becomes impossible to get out on location, let us know, because we can always introduce a few more as the season progresses and as the weather continues to get worse. But most importantly, if you have enjoyed this video, then please share it with all your friends, give us that thumbs up, and until the next time, don't forget, have fun. Bye.